Hi, it's Sam from Smart School Councils, and it's my absolute pleasure to be showcasing to you our new class meeting tool in this video. Hopefully the video will introduce you to our new class meeting and show you how to set up your first meeting to use in school. We're really excited about it, and hopefully you will be too. So I presume you should recognise the screen you see in front of you. It's the homepage for Smart School Councils. I'm going to log on, which is what you need to do also. Using your email and your password. Computer can be a bit slow, so you might have to stick with us as we do this. Okay, as soon as it's got my details, it should take us through to the dashboard that if you're a regular user of the Smart School Councils model, then you'll recognize it. What you may not recognize necessarily is this link, button rather, into the corner here that gives us you access to our new class meeting tool. So that's what you're going to need to click to start firstly establishing your school to use it, and then creating your first class meeting tool. Okay, so you should see now the admin page, rather than saying welcome Sam, on there it should say your username. And in order for you to start using the service, you need to have your school set up. So this is what we need to do initially. Under the Manage School tab, you'll see that you've got space there to create your school name. We're going to call ours Smart School Council International School, because why not? And then at this point, you can also add a logo to attach to the banner on the top of the class meeting that gives your school sort of recognition and value for what you're doing. I'm just going to use a generic one that we have on site, just to show you what it might look like. And once we've done that, I should be able to create my school. It'll take a minute or two to process that, and after the school is set up, we've got one more step, and then I can show you the class meeting tool establishing process and what it looks like. Okay, so you can now see that under the Manage School tab, we've got Smart School Councils International School, and we've added to it our logo, which is this you see here. Now then, before you can set up your first class meeting, you also need to create a password for your communications team, or if you're still calling them your school council. This means that they have access to creating class meeting tools, so that they are the ones that are championing pupil voice in your school. So I'm going to just create a generic password for them so that it allows us to move forward in this stage. Again, we're going to need to sort of update that as we're going along. And we also then have to establish a number of classes for your school as well. I'll show you that next. Great, keep an eye on the banner at the top of the page. It'll highlight in green when you've successfully completed a part of the setup process. So I've got my school and its logo. I've got the communications team and the password. Now I'm going to put the number of classes in for my school with their name and their key stage. It's important to do this so that we get accurate data, and you get accurate data to look back over what you've discussed in your school and who said what. So I'm just going to create 3 classes and we'll move on. I'm going to have Hawthorne class, and we'll say their key stage to 6 and add new class. You have to make sure that you click add new class every time that you add one. It might take a little bit of time to update, but there it is. So Hawthorne class, we'll have Holly class, and as soon as that's updated, we'll have one more class, and then we'll move on. Let's have Laurel class. As I say, remember to keep an eye on the banner at the top of the screen, because that will let you know that you're doing everything successfully. Right, so just to recap, we've got our school and its logo, the comms team, the communications team have got their password, and I've got 3 classes that are the representative schools just for this example. So I've done that, I'm ready to set up my first class meeting. So I click on the class meeting tab, and then you'll see there are a number of instructions that you need to be prepared to do for when you create your first class meeting. So decide on a class meeting question, decide on what the answer options are going to be, and then save and submit. So it's our first class meeting of the year. We're going to have a question. Now I think for our example, we're going to imagine that the school's got a bit of surplus budget left over for the year, and we want to ask the student body what they'd like to do with it, to give them a say on the decisions making in the school. So let's say What should we... Oh, help if I didn't put everything in capital letters. Our leftover budget. Okay. Now, after I've got our question, we've got that set, we can add an option with an image to represent that choice. So let's say that one of the options we could have is to buy new sports equipment. And I've already preset what images I'm going to use to make this a slicker process, but it might be that at this point you go and find images from Google or wherever to go alongside your choice. So in my class meeting tool folder, I've got a picture of sports equipment I'm going to attach to that. I'm going to then save to make sure that it can accept the image. There may be certain images that you use that are too large to be uploaded in this process. If there are, then we suggest you use other ones or look at maybe trying to recrop them somehow. But as you can see there, that's what option 1 looks like, and it'll show you the image if it's worked successfully. So let's have option 2. We're going to, what should we do with our budget? We should buy new iPads for each classroom. And again, I'm going to select my image. I've got these ready to go. And I'll do the same with the other 2 options so we speed the process up. Buy new books for our library. Find the right image to go alongside that one. And then my sort of left field option is going to be to donate the budget to the local food bank. Of course, these are just options. It's entirely up to you what the questions and the content are. So I'm going to save again, just to see if the tool has accepted the images and see what they might look like before then I submit my changes and we can see what the class meeting looks like. So I scroll down slightly, yeah, I've got my green banner on the top, I can see my options and I can see the images have been accepted. Now because we're doing this for the first time, it will be you that does this as the teacher, but hopefully moving forward your communications team or your school council will be the ones that are establishing what questions and the order and the options to go along to, as we say, to increase the percentage of pupil voice you have in your school. So that looks really good. We can preview it if you like, but we're not going to do that at the moment. We're just going to accept it. And we're going to click OK on that pop-up. So then you can see at the top of the banner, the tool is going to have generated a link that you can copy and paste and put into an email to send out to all of your colleagues so that they can get access to the class meeting tool to run with their classes. So that's what we'll do. I think that's useful to do next. So I'm going to click the link and to open it in a new tab. Now this should then open the class meeting that you've created, and also it should do so in full screen, the idea being that in a classroom with an interactive whiteboard it takes over the screen so everybody can see it. So here we are. We've got today's date, we've got my generic school logo, which is where yours would be in the top right hand corner, and this will be the instruction for your 2 pupils who are leading the class meeting. It's meant to give them prompts, it's meant to give them all of the information that they need to empower them to lead these meetings. So just follow the instructions on screen and everybody will be fine. So we'll begin. So we've got 3 classes in the school. I need to select which class I am. And I need to let you, the school, know who it is that's leading this. So let's say it's Holly is going to be leading it. And the note taker, the person doing the typing, is recording all of the discussion and the elements being discussed around the room, should be, let's call them Sean. Why not? Let's call it that. And then when I'm happy with who my meeting leader is and who the note taker is, I'm going to click next step. So again, it's prompting us in our class to get into groups. These are going to be our discussion groups where we decide upon what option we think is best and why, and where the skills of oracy and discussion and debate are being practiced. So it depends on how many groups there are in the class. Let's, for example, say that there are 4 groups that are discussing the questions, and when we've set that, we're ready to go on. We're correct, we're sure, we'll move on. then your meeting leader should be able to establish what the boundaries are or what the expectations are for this. So we're going to do step 1, which is everybody get into their groups. Step 2, you're going to make sure that in order to vote, we need to agree as a group on what choice we have selected. And then step 3 is that one person in the group and is going to tell the rest of the class how he voted in order to have it recorded. So those are 3 steps. When you're doing these things initially, of course, the routines aren't set yet, so it might take a little bit longer, but after a while, these will become second nature, I'm sure, to your students. So when we've got those expectations set, we move on then to our question. So here's our question: what should we do with our leftover budget? Our options are really visually and well visually displayed here with a timer of 5 minutes underneath. Towards the end of the timer, you'll get a noise to remind the class that their time is about to expire. This makes it more of a sensory process, but I don't think we need to go down that route right now. So let's just say that as a class, we've finished deliberating. If the time is still running, it's going to give you this check, but we're going to say that's absolutely fine. And then that leads us to when we would record our votes. So however many groups you have, it will only let you vote that many times. So in our case, it's 4. So we'll give 1 to sports equipment, 1 to library, and let's say we'll give 2 to donate to the local food bank. And that's how we record our democratic expression, if you want to call it that. There's a reminder for your class meeting leader to say to everybody else, as a summary, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we voted. And then the next screen shows you your votes being counted. So then we come to the last part of the class meeting, which is the business section, or what new actions that your pupils, your school body might like to do. So do you have something new that you will do this week to improve the school? Same 3 steps as we had earlier, and we can start our timer. It's 3 minutes this time to make it slightly shorter, and again there's a warning, an audio warning at the end. So we'll skip through this and say we're finished with our discussion. Let's say for an example that yes, one group has discussed that they've got an idea that they'd like to improve something in the school, so we'll say yes, there are actions, and then we'll say that Julia is the nominee. They have an idea, and their idea is to talk to the head teacher about having bike racks put outside our school to encourage people to cycle to school. So that's her idea. We're going to add that as an action. We can see now in the corner where our actions belong, and that's all part of the data that we'll send through to you and your comms team to analyze. We submit because we're finished. We have a summary of our actions and we click yes, and that should be our class meeting completed. You'll see then on the screen that we are the first class to complete this class meeting, and this is just to promote a sense of enthusiasm across your school to see who it will be to be first or third or second as you go through your weekly or annually, monthly, whatever it might be, class meeting. So that's it. That's everything we need as far as the class and the teachers are concerned. So we'll just come out of this window for now, and we'll go back into your admin panel on the Smart School website. I'm going to refresh it, and then I can show you the data and how it stores this from your classes so you can see what the opinions are in your school. So we've got a new tab that's appeared, view results for what should we do with our leftover budget, which is our first class meeting. Here then in this breakdown you can see by class who the leader was, who the note taker was, the number of groups that participated, those who then voted and what their options were, and if any were undecided. And in the last column we've got any additional ideas. This is where you and your comms team would sit down to discuss if there are themes coming across the school to move forward in an area of tackling or giving the opportunity to some of these students to have their voices heard. What I think would be useful to see as well before we finish is where the links are held. Let's say as an example, you've set up your class meeting, you've sent out the email link to all of your colleagues, but for whatever reason you still need to get a hold of the link here and you can't find it. All you need to go is to view results, and it'll show you here your live class meeting tool, and under the Here tab it'll show you a link through again like this to the same class meeting for you to use. And I guess the final thing to mention then is that when you go to create your next class meeting, or your communications team goes to create your next class meeting, and I can show you here by doing that, when we set up what it is, we start with the actions from our previous decision. So here under add an action column, we need to show, well, firstly the tool automatically will show you who is won or what option is won from our deliberations last time. And it's good then to update our school with what's going to happen as a result of them discussing and making their opinions known. And this is where you do that. So hopefully you found that quick walkthrough really useful. We'd absolutely love to hear about how you get on with the class meeting tool, Greg or I, through our emails or through our social media accounts. And yeah, let us know, send us some pictures, we'd love to see it.